Welcome back to Hydrohaven, where we believe every gardener deserves thriving soil no matter what Mother Nature gave you to start with. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most common challenges many of you have asked about: how to transform lifeless sandy soil into rich, fertile ground bursting with biological activity. If you've ever felt like you're gardening in a beach instead of a backyard, this guide is especially for you. Sandy soil can feel like both a blessing and a curse. On the positive side, it drains well and warms up quickly in spring, giving you an early start to the growing season. But let's be honest about the challenges. Water runs through it like a sieve, nutrients wash away before plants can use them, and that coarse texture lacks the structure that creates a thriving home for beneficial microorganisms. The secret ingredient your sandy soil desperately needs is humus, that dark, rich, stable form of organic matter that forms when plant and animal materials decompose fully. Humus isn't just another soil amendment. It's the lifeblood of healthy soil. It holds water like a sponge, clings to nutrients that would otherwise wash away, and creates the perfect habitat for the soil food web to flourish. Today, I'm sharing the comprehensive approach we've developed at Hydrohaven after years of transforming barren sandy plots into productive gardens. Before we jump into techniques, let's understand what we're actually building. Humus consists of complex carbon compounds that resist further decomposition. Unlike raw organic matter that quickly breaks down, humus persists in soil for decades or even centuries, providing long-term benefits. The formation process involves primary decomposition, where microorganisms break down easier materials, followed by secondary synthesis, where these broken-down components recombine into complex humic substances. Sandy soil specifically struggles with humus formation because the large particles create excessive aeration, causing organic matter to oxidize too quickly rather than undergoing the slower transformations needed for stable humus development. The lack of clay particles, which normally bond with organic compounds to form clay-humus complexes, further inhibits humus accumulation. Our strategies must address these unique challenges of sandy environments. All humus begins as organic matter, but not all organic materials are equally effective for sandy soil improvement. The key is diversity and timing. For sandy soil specifically, you'll want to incorporate both fast-decomposing green materials rich in nitrogen and slower-decomposing brown materials high in carbon. For immediate improvement, materials like well-rotted manure, finished compost, and worm castings provide readily available nutrients while beginning the humus-building process. For long-term structure development, incorporate materials with higher lignin content like partially decomposed leaves, small wood chips, and even biochar. These materials break down slowly, creating lasting structure while feeding fungi that help bind sand particles together. In our Hydrohaven test gardens, we've found that applying organic matter in fall rather than spring gives it time to integrate with the soil biology before the stress of summer heat, which is particularly important in sandy environments where summer temperatures can sterilize the uppermost soil layers and halt biological processes. A thick 3 to 4 inch layer worked into the top 8 to 10 inches of soil in autumn sets the stage for humus development through winter and spring. Here's a technique many gardeners overlook. Incorporating small amounts of clay into sandy soil can dramatically accelerate humus formation. Clay particles have negative electrical charges that attract and hold both nutrients and organic compounds, creating those stable clay-humus complexes that persist long-term. You don't need much. Just 5 to 10% clay content can transform sandy soil's ability to build and retain humus. At Hydrohaven, we've had great success with powdered bentonite clay, which can be sprinkled over moistened soil and gently worked in. Alternatively, you can source small amounts of clay soil from elsewhere on your property, or even use clay-based cat litter, the plain, unscented kind with no additives. This simple addition provides the mineral framework that humus needs to develop stability in sandy environments. Humus doesn't just happen. It's manufactured by a complex community of soil organisms working in harmony. Sandy soil typically lacks this diverse ecosystem, so we need to introduce and support it. Beneficial bacteria break down simple compounds, while fungi tackle more complex carbons and create long-lasting soil networks that physically bind sand particles together. To jumpstart this process, use high-quality microbial inoculants like actively aerated compost tea, mycorrhizal fungi supplements, or indigenous microorganism (IMO) cultures. These introduce the missing biological workforce that will transform organic matter into stable humus. Once introduced, feed them consistently with diluted molasses for bacteria and complex carbon sources like humic acid for fungi. Protect these organisms by maintaining consistent soil moisture, perhaps the biggest challenge in sandy soil. Applying organic mulches serves the dual purpose of moisture retention and slow-release organic material as they decompose from the bottom down. At Hydrohaven, we layer mulch 3 to 4 inches deep, renewing it seasonally as it breaks down and incorporates into the soil below. No discussion of building humus would be complete without covering the transformative power of cover crops. These workhorse plants build organic matter both above and below ground while keeping soil biology active year-round. For sandy soil specifically, deep-rooted cover crops like daikon radish physically break through compacted layers while depositing organic matter deep in the soil profile as their roots decompose. The perfect cover crop strategy for sand involves polycultures, mixed plantings that include grasses like annual rye for quick coverage, legumes like clover or vetch to fix nitrogen, and brassicas like mustard, which produces biofumigant compounds when turned under. This diversity mimics natural systems and creates varied organic inputs that develop into more stable forms of humus. Rather than tilling cover crops under, consider the chop and drop method, cutting them at soil level and leaving the tops as mulch while the root systems decompose in place. This preserves soil structure and fungal networks while adding organic matter both above and below ground. Implement this practice in rotation with your normal growing seasons to continuously build humus reserves. Building humus in sandy soil isn't a one-season fix but a gardening lifestyle. The most dramatic improvements come in years 3 to 5 of consistent practice. At Hydro Haven we've documented increases in organic matter from less than 1% to over 5% in previously sandy areas using these techniques consistently over time. The process becomes self-reinforcing. As humus levels increase, the soil holds more water and nutrients, supporting more abundant plant growth, which contributes more organic residues, further feeding humus development. This positive cycle transforms gardening from a constant struggle with sand to working with an increasingly living, responsive medium. Document your journey through soil tests every 1 to 2 years, specifically tracking organic matter percentages and cation exchange capacity, CEC, which directly correlates with humus content. These measurements provide tangible evidence of your soil's transformation and help guide adjustments to your approach. The transformation from lifeless sand to humus-rich living soil represents one of the most rewarding journeys in gardening. It connects us to ancient agricultural wisdom while applying modern scientific understanding of soil ecology. The methods shared here have been tested in our Hydro Haven demonstration gardens and by countless community members who have shared their success stories with us. Remember that building humus is building a legacy. You're not just improving conditions for this season's plants but creating an ecosystem that will sustain abundant growth for decades to come. The initial effort pays dividends in reduced watering, fertilizing, and pest management for years afterward. We'd love to see your sandy soil transformation stories. Share your before and after photos in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to Hydro Haven for more in-depth gardening guidance. If you found this guide helpful, sharing it with a fellow gardener struggling with sandy soil might be the greatest gift you can give their garden. Until next time, keep your hands in the soil and your eyes on the horizon. The garden of your dreams is just a few seasons of good practice away.